This is my bear video. There were so many people there. It closes on Labor Day, so they were getting the last days in, that there were people around us all the time. Chris and I were there 20 years ago, and there wasn't as many people. Plus, this time we rode a bus in, and last time we were there, we actually drove the car right up to the bears, which, when we were getting ready to go, the bears were all around our car, so we had to wait until the workers were able to shoo the bears away before we could actually get in the car. But this time they just drove buses in there, and then they handled that part of it. Now I want to tell you a story about the guy that started this. His name was Vince Shute. He was a logger. I'm talking about back in the 40s. And he actually did the cooking for his crew. And every day he would make them flapjacks, pancakes, sourdough pancakes. And he started noticing black bears would come around and get into his foodstuffs. So he'd shoot them. I mean, that's what every logger would do, wouldn't they? Anyway, the more he shot, the more showed up. So one day, he goes to Orr, Minnesota, which is about 10 miles or less from the logging camp from where he was. And he proudly announced that he had shot every bear in the North Woods because they were a nuisance, and he had gotten rid of every bear in the North Woods. And then on the way back to the logging camp, lo and behold, there were 3 bears. So he thought, man alive, what in the world am I going to do? I mean, there's nothing I can do about this. So what he did, he started making extra pancakes. Now, these are old sourdough pancakes, just logging crew's food. And he'd walk way out in the woods and throw a bunch out there, so any bears would come, they would start coming to out in the woods instead of around his camp. And so he started doing that with everything, donuts, any kind of pastry, any kind of food that he could find. He'd just throw out there in the same area to keep them away from their camp. And of course, the bears, I mean, they loved it. They would come and eat up all the food. But now remember, this is back in 46, 47, 48, 50, 60, 70s. Now, later in life, now we're talking way up in the 1990s, okay? Later in life, Vince thought, what in the world am I going to do when I die? No one else is going to take care of these bears or feed these bears. And so in the early 90s, they put together a plan, and that's what this place is. This is the Vince Shute Wildlife Sanctuary. They actually feed the bears here, and the bears have got so used to eating in this spot that they'll come and go. Now, these bears have a 400-mile range. In fact, the bear, I got to tell you another little story about this you'll love. When Chris and I were there 20 years ago, there was it's a black bear with a red coloring, okay? There was a red bear there with 3 legs, and that bear was very adept at playing, I don't know if it was adept, but it was playing king on the mountain or king of the hill and pushing cubs off the hill. There's a little mound of dirt or whatever there, and we got to watch way more activity. When we were there the first time, it was in July, so that was a month earlier, and the bears seemed to be more active. But anyway, we watched them play king on the hill and all that. And so when we got there this year, Chris talked to one of the ladies there that's one of the ranger type ladies, and she said, oh yeah, hey Chris, what was the name of that bear?
I can't remember.
Oh man, they had a name for that red bear because it actually stayed. It never did wander off in the range. And the veterinarians never did figure out for sure how it lost one of its paws. But they're convinced it was not born that way, because if it was, the mother bear would have abandoned it and let it die as a young bear. So they're thinking that in Canada, they were allowed to use those bear traps, and they think that a bear trap just actually took that one leg off. And it healed, because it was healed before it showed up at the sanctuary, and then it just stayed at the sanctuary. So anyway, the lifespan of the bear is only 18, 20 years anyway, and this bear is, they've got it figured at 22 years old. They think it's at least 22 years old. Anyway, that's a little sidelight. We didn't see that bear this time, and the lady said that bear has shrunk a little bit from old age. Now, we didn't see that one. Now, getting back to my story of Vince Shute, they started this sanctuary so they could study bears and learn more and more about bears, because their habitat, of course, is shrinking. As man develops more and more land, their habitat shrinks. So what they've done, the sanctuary people, they will freely reward and intermingle with the bears in that small area. But outside of that area, they'll honk the horn of the bus, or they'll holler, or they'll try to scare the bear away, because they want that negative reinforcement away from the food area, so the bears don't get the idea that every human is a food giver. But they told us a whole bunch of stuff at the bear sanctuary. Now, I'm going to give you some facts, and you'll have to listen real fast. A bear's sense of smell is extremely keen, 7 times more powerful than a dog's. He can detect odors over a mile away. Now, he can go without food for up to 7 months during hibernation in the northern range. The bears are very curious, resourceful, and very intelligent. They have an excellent memory and remember food sources for many years. Vince had a bear, and they call him Peanuts to this day. He's still alive there. He used to feed that bear out of his hand peanuts. And that bear just got attached to Vince, obviously, but they have a memory. They'll constantly go back to their food sources. Now, bears are nervous, shy, easily frightened. They can cause serious injury, of course, if they're startled, cornered, or provoked. Now, they're very opportunistic and will take advantage of readily available food. Very powerful, very strong. They become bolder when they're hungry. They're proficient at climbing, swimming, running. They often avoid open areas, prefer protective cover of trees or thickets. Now, their diet consists of approximately 85% vegetation, including nuts, fruits, berries, seeds, grasses. They stand up on their hind legs not to attack, but out of curiosity to get a better look or smell. So when they're standing up, just don't assume they're coming to attack. Should you see a bear in the open, the best thing to do is just basically, don't panic. Slowly back away. Raise your arms above your heads to make you look like you're bigger than you are. If he does stand up and he's coming towards you, he's not necessarily there to attack you. He's to get a better look or to sniff of you. But leave the area, and if he is treed, he's probably afraid. Leave him alone. Remove all threats. Give him time to feel secure enough to come down and get away, which may not occur until the cover of night. Now, I gave you all these facts about bears because up there, the whole point is education. They want to teach you about bears. Now, the rest of this video is basically all you've seen so far. I didn't count the bears, but I'm going to guess, I don't know, 20 plus. They come and go. There's a wide range. In fact, the lady said a 400-mile range. They'll range into Canada and, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, just a wide range. But because of their memory, they know that this is a food source that's always there, this small area right here in the Vince Shute wildlife sanctuary. The rest of this video will just be pictures of bears.